All right, guys, this is Mrs. Applegarth again. We're going to take a little sneak peek at our Chapter 4 review. So this will go over the first few sections that we've done in Chapter 4. This is for geometry. The first question we're going to review is state the postulate or theorem you can use to prove the triangle is congruent. Use side, angle, side, 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 angle, 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 side, or hypotenuse leg. And in fact, my students haven't done hypotenuse leg yet, so we're definitely not using that one. All right, so we look at our two triangles, and this is one of my favorite bow tie triangles. When we see a bow tie, we want to automatically look for these vertical angles right here. Another way to think of it is if it makes an X, over down there with X is TUV. So V for vertical angles, and vertical angles are congruent. So these two triangles are congruent by side, angle, and side. So that would be side, angle, side. All right. Next question is state which postulate or theorem says the triangles are congruent or type NEI for not enough information. So I'm going to pull up our options. So you want to look at our figure. We have two triangles rolling around right here. We know that two sides are congruent already. They give us that information. And we want to look around, be good detectives, and see if there's any information on angles. So I look, there's nothing in the corner, no congruent marks, no little rainbows in the corner. So none of my theorems with angles in it are going to work. So we have to determine, can we use side, side, side? And is there any hidden information about this third side right here that we don't know? And we go, oh, yes, there is. When a side overlaps its corresponding side, then the side is congruent to itself. That's called reflexive. We've done about 4 examples already on reflexive. So we say that this shape is the two triangles are congruent by side, side, side. All right, the next one. Okay. State which postulate or theorem says the triangles are congruent or NEI for not enough information. So I'm going to throw down and these ones again. These little arrow marks mean parallel. So in this case, I have the top and the bottom line are parallel, and the left and the right line are parallel. Now, we did parallel lines last chapter, and when we see parallel lines, we learned that parallel lines give us information about angles. Okay, so when you get lines being parallel, we get information about angles. So that's our interior angles are congruent, same side interior angles are supplementary, alternate exterior angles are congruent. That kind of information that we did in chapter 3 gave us information about angles. So what I'm going to do is eliminate side, side, side. Because I don't have any information given about the sides. So there's no way I'm going to get all three sides congruent, especially when I have parallel lines that give us information about angles. Okay, so our key term here, when you guys are dealing with parallel lines, we want to look for alternate interior angles to be congruent. I capitalized the wrong letter there. Okay, so if I have these two parallel lines, and sometimes it's hard to see, so feel free to mark up your shape. So I have this line on top and this line on the bottom are parallel. I have my transversal that crosses down here. And so we know alternate interior angles are congruent. So I can say that's this angle right here and this angle right here. Yay! We can also say that this angle here is also an alternate interior angle to this angle here. So that gives me two angles, but I'm kind of missing now the side. So we look at our two triangles. Do they have an overlapping side? Do they have a case like we learned before with that's going to be reflexive? And we look and we say, yes, that's this right here from this corner to this corner. So that's reflexive. So let's add that to our, you guys have to, you can't just put like on a quiz. I'm going to give you this quiz and it's going to say to justify your statement. So you can't just put side angle side or side or whatever congruent triangle postulate or theorem. You have to put why it is. So if you're saying alternate interior angles are congruent, you can't just put the congruent marks there. You have to say that they're alternate interior angles. So we're going to put down reflexive so that it justifies us saying that this is congruent. Okay, so now let's do the walk around. We have our angle here. We have our congruent side, thank you, reflexive property, and we have our angle here. So these two triangles are, if we look at our options, they are congruent by angle, side, angle, boom, and none of the other two. Okay. Number 4. State with postulate or theorem says the postulate, I don't know why that's hard for me today, says the triangles are congruent or not enough information if there is not enough information. So we are given that these two angles are congruent. We are given that these two angles are perpendicular angles, which means they're 90 degrees. If something's 90 degrees, then if both angles are 90 degrees, then they're both congruent to themselves. So these two angles are congruent. So let's look at our options. So we got side, 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 angle, 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 side, or angle, side, angle. And we can say by third angles theorem, so let's throw this down. I haven't taught my students hypotenuse leg, so I'm going to ignore that one for this case. So by third angle theorem, we can say that this third, if two angles in a triangle are congruent, we can say that the third angle is also going to be congruent. So we'll put a little congruent mark here. Okay. And then just like the one before and the one before that, we do have an overlapping line here. So we are going to say that this angle, or sorry, this line from this corner to this corner is congruent on both triangles. And so we go, use the third angle theorem to show that green angle. And then this one is going to be the reflexive property to say that this side is congruent to itself. And then we're going to take the walk around. So we got angle, side, and angle. So out of the 4 choices, this triangle is congruent by angle, side, angle. All right, and that concludes your chapter 4 review.